which is obviously a well-known ERP system, and Magento eCommerce, a well-known e-commerce platform, how those can be used together, how the integration can take place automatically in the background, and some of the challenges and issues relating to that. Magic Software is presenting today's webinar, and we are a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ exchange under the ticker symbol MGIC, with customers in over 50 countries worldwide and a 30-year history of providing solutions for customers in the area of integration and application platforms. So we thank you for joining us today and look forward to discussing the topic before us. Our agenda will take us into a look at the changing e-commerce landscape and some of the issues related to e-commerce scalability, some specific issues related to Magento e-commerce integration, and then some of the issues related to Oracle e-business suite integration. Then we hope to have time left for a demonstration of ERP to e-commerce integration and questions at the end. So let's talk about that changing e-commerce landscape by asking the question, what are the important changes affecting e-commerce this year and beyond? As we look at what's taking place in e-commerce, we see changes in the area of web commerce, mobile commerce, local commerce, social commerce, and daily commerce. Online sales are taking place in a variety of different segments, and we've noticed that non-travel e-commerce sales are nearing $300 billion in 2014, according to projections, and will likely reach $434 billion by 2017. So these are interesting numbers put together by eMarketer, and they look in detail in their published reports at all of the various segments that you see listed here in terms of the proportion of expected online sales in this very large market. And of course, online sales incorporates both web commerce and mobile commerce, but we see mobile commerce becoming a much larger segment year after year as well. In fact, that explosion in mobile commerce is backed up by studies that show that more than half, or nearly half, excuse me, of all mobile users have purchased a digital product online at this point. About 25% have bought clothing, about 20% have purchased travel, entertainment, and physical products. And mostly these purchases are being made with credit cards, although we're seeing an emerging area of mobile payments where the mobile device itself is used as a payment mechanism as opposed to providing credit card details in order to make payment. And this information is based on studies by the Baymard Institute. If we look at a newer discussion really in the area of mobile commerce, it's the idea of local commerce. And this term is used to describe the transition from online to offline purchases, which are triggered by things like a buy in store button or an in-store comparison that's shopping that's taking place by savvy consumers. So quite often what will happen is that the consumer will use the online device to inform and accentuate their purchase decisions in the brick and mortar world or the traditional retail store environment. So this can be very powerful. A lot of the websites that I'm sure you have used yourself as a consumer include buy-in-store options, and many retailers are looking at ways that they can enable their customers to not only purchase things for shipment, but also to be able to make very quick will call pickups and have that will call order ready by the time the customer gets to the store, providing for a nice hybrid experience, which is really under the banner of local commerce. Social commerce is more of a tactic to bring e-commerce to social websites, as well as to use social websites to drive traffic to e-commerce environments. And so the rising number of social commerce tactics, and I'm sure we've all been exposed to many, many of these, that are available to online marketers, is creating demand for integration between the e-commerce sites and the social platforms through the various social APIs that are available. And IT departments need to prepare carefully for this. How can we best integrate the various environments, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and Pinterest, and on, YouTube, and so forth. All of these are driving certain types of buyers, and depending upon whether you're going for a classic consumer target or more of a B2B target, whether you're going for a luxury buyer or a more of a discount shopper, is really going to influence the type of social tactics and sites that you're using as well. So social commerce is certainly an area where there's a lot of integration requirement, and the use of an integration platform to handle these can be very important. Daily deals is another area, or daily commerce is something that is really taking the web and the world by storm, and we've seen quite a bit of consolidation already in a number of these, where there are famous, well-known opportunities like Groupon. There are some others that are, and Living Social, and some of the others. There are others that are less well-known. But all of these are based around some sort of idea of providing daily specials and deals and to a crowd or a group, and these all tend to have their own APIs, their own way of interacting as well. And so if you want to incorporate these into your e-commerce site, you want to incorporate the back-end information and base it on the reality of current stock situations, then that makes a lot of sense. And so there's some integration intelligence that really can play a role in determining what the daily deal ought to be and what information that daily deal is based on, and so forth. So this is another one of the important areas of change in development in mobile commerce that are really driving the direction in the market today and affecting and impacting IT departments. Big data, of course, is an issue that enterprises are looking at that's much broader than just mobile commerce, but certainly mobile commerce is a big part of what's driving a lot of this big data into the enterprise. And so we see all kinds of sources of big data that are impacting enterprises, including the integration factor, where the integration data, which is sometimes structured, sometimes unstructured, sometimes related to social, sometimes event-driven, and so forth, is really becoming a big part of what's going on in terms of creating pressure on IT departments to have systems that can keep up, that can scale to this seemingly, unlimited internet demand that can be generated at times very suddenly and very unexpectedly. So e-commerce scalability, therefore, becomes one of the big considerations. And so the question is, what factors are impacting e-commerce scalability, and what can be done to improve integration scalability? Well, e-commerce, of course, is the buying and selling of a process for various products, services through the online environment. Successful e-commerce websites have to be architected efficiently for potentially high amounts of traffic. In particular, you have to be prepared for seasonal spikes in demand, for Black Friday, for Cyber Monday, for other high volume days and times in the holiday seasons and so forth, because these can cause websites to otherwise suffer poor performance, delays, errors in processing, up to and including total system failure. So that, of course, is to be avoided at all costs. So e-commerce platforms typically are hosted using separate physical or virtual servers for the web interface, such as Apache, PHP, or IIS servers, and then the back-end SQL database, such as Oracle, DB2, MS SQL, or MySQL. Typically, these are hosted in separate environments in order to benefit scalability. But there needs to be considerations that go beyond just that idea of separation of the web server and interface from the back-end database. E-commerce platforms, are not the only thing that are running in an enterprise, and so ERP systems, CRM systems, product lifecycle management, and supply chain management systems are commonly integrated with e-commerce platforms in order to engage in financial transactions, in order to keep track of customer records, in order to provide and maintain a single source of truth for product master data, and to make sure that the supplier management needs are taken care of, and so on. And so these various systems are performing essential functions in support of e-commerce. And e-commerce, of course, is a key source of information coming into many of these back-end systems, if you will. And so it's very important to look at how we integrate, how we access information between the two, and what our approach will be. Will it be synchronous, real-time integration, or will it be asynchronous batch mode of integration? What are the consequences? What are the intervals that are best suited? If we're running various batch jobs, when should they be run based on peak demand times and so forth? And so there are a number of considerations to look at. Increasingly, we're seeing the preference being given to real-time synchronous integration so that information is always current and up to date. This can be important for a number of reasons. First of all, inventory availability is very much a zero-sum game, and so you want to have accurate information based on the most recent purchases that have been made on your website and through your other purchasing systems in the environment. Another factor that is causing this to become critical is the idea that customer relationship management information needs to be current. Salespeople need to be aware before they call that a customer has made a recent online purchase or that a customer's had a recent return, and so on. And so the CRM integration is becoming a factor as well. Just waiting for the slides to catch up here. There's a little spinning wheel in front of me right now that you probably can't see yourself, so we're waiting for my system to decide it wants to cooperate. There we go. Okay. Did I skip too many slides? No, just one. All right. So we wanted to talk about Magento specifically and how how Magento is, obviously one of the e-commerce platform leaders in the marketplace. It has a solution that's very flexible and scalable, and the Magento platform is actually used by some 150,000 e-commerce sites, including some very major brands, some large-scale sites, but obviously a lot of smaller business and medium-sized business sites included in there as well. And the goal of every one of those small and mid-sized sites is to become one of the large and major brands, and therefore, again, scalability becomes a factor. Magento e-commerce integration considerations are therefore a very important factor. So how can an enterprise implement integration for Magento e-commerce? First of all, we need to consider cross-platform issues. You can choose between Magento Community Edition and Magento Enterprise Edition to develop your solution. And Magento Enterprise is really the most scalable Magento solution and delivers its best performance on an optimized infrastructure. So if you're concerned at all about scalability, about the issues we've been talking about here today, then it's important, to consider the scalability of the integration solutions as well that connect Magento to the back-end systems. Real-time integration requires a robust, scalable integration platform. So I would go with Magento Enterprise, and I would go with an integration platform that has scalability built in as well. Magento Enterprise Edition is designed for that high performance and scalability, and includes what they call enterprise class features and flexibility to create a tailored or customized e-commerce solution. And Magento Enterprise also includes site marketing features to drive traffic, the conversions that you're looking for, and the revenue. So Magento Enterprise has an API that we'll be utilizing in the demonstration as part of its environment. And the thing to keep in mind is that it just speaks Magento. It doesn't speak the language of your ERP system. It doesn't speak the language of your CRM system. It speaks its own language, and that's great. That's what it should do. So the purpose of that API is to allow you to create these rich, differentiated consumer experiences, and desktop, mobile, to connect with point-to-point programs or even integration platforms such as Magic XPI. So the scalability factors here are a number. E-commerce scalability is impacted by some very measurable factors. What is the size of your catalog? What is the average browsing time per user? What are the average and peak visitors per day? What are the average number of orders transacted per day? And what are the peak number of orders per hour and per day? And what are the peak orders per hour and per day during the holiday season, during times of particularly high demand? What are the number of concurrent admin users that you might have for your e-commerce platform? What are the number of fields per SKU, and the length of product data per field? And what are the other ways that your catalog is differentiated and has a variety of different data, the number of categories and brands and so forth that you're utilizing? All of these considerations impact the scale of your e-commerce environment, and the scalability is impacted as well. This is going to dictate the kind of architecture that you need. So many IT departments expect integration architecture to be behind the enterprise firewall for security purposes, or behind the cloud firewall. And separate servers are typically used for web, data, payment processing, and integration. That's fairly normal. For maximum elastic scalability and high availability and reliability, the integration architecture should use in-memory computing techniques, such as an in-memory data grid that has right behind dynamic scaling and co-location of memory and processing. These kind of big data techniques in the integration architecture ensure its ability to scale both horizontally and vertically in order to keep up with whatever those peak demands are in your e-commerce environment, and the integration for those. Now, when we look at the Oracle E-Business Suite and the considerations here, of course, the ERP is enterprise resource planning. Enterprise resource planning can incorporate a wide variety of different areas of one's business. And depending upon which modules, which capabilities of the Oracle E-Business Suite that you have installed, the discussion can be slightly different regarding the kind of integration processes that are possible. Oracle has more than one ERP system. Some people have a hybrid of two different systems. They might run Oracle E-Business Suite for their primary financials and PeopleSoft Enterprise for their human resources, for example. That's fine. But those are just considerations that need to be brought into the integration scenarios up front. But Oracle E-Business Suite is pretty comprehensive. It has an integrated approach. It's got a global approach to business. And it has applications that are designed to enable your organization to make better decisions, therefore the emphasis on resource planning, reduce costs, increase performance, and so on. So this is the overall business benefit. When we look at it from an architecture standpoint, the Oracle Application Server and the Oracle Database are the two most visible environments here. And this will include, of course, your web server environment. There's typically an XML gateway, a Java engine that's incorporated into your Oracle application server, all of which are providing a variety of different methodologies for integration to the outside world. But once again, just like Magento speaks Magento's language, Oracle's EBS speaks EBS's language. In other words, the data is formatted in its structure, following a particular ontology, and that data model, the field structures are unique to the eBusiness Suite environment, just as they're unique to the Magento environment. When we look at all of the various modules that are available, these are not the modules. These are broad categories within which you can find a number of different modules available within Oracle eBusiness Suite, everything from CRM to service management, obviously your financials, your human resources or human capital management, project portfolio management, procurement, supply chain, value chain planning, and execution. So as we look across these broad areas, then we'll find that you may have a number of different capabilities incorporated into your implementation of Oracle eBusiness Suite. And there are going to be a number of touch points to e-commerce. And so when running eBusiness Suite and Magento eCommerce in the same organization, there is this need that we've mentioned to intermediate the application programming interfaces, or the APIs, in order to allow real-time and asynchronous business processes between systems. And these interfaces between systems are helping to manage your e-commerce storefronts, your shopping carts, and your inventory by enabling behind-the-scenes business processes for invoicing, stock management, product management, order tracking, and other business functions that span both systems, both Oracle eBusiness Suite and Magento eCommerce. So I like this cartoon. It says, "Hey man, where are you going?" It says, "Sorry dude, I gotta go feed my baby turtles." "Ah, how cute. Can I watch?" "Sure." And then you see the guy feeding a turtle to his baby. So the words mean the same thing, but it's not what we expected there in that last frame of the cartoon. He's feeding his baby turtles. He's not, feeding baby turtles. So that's kind of an example of how even in human language things can get mixed up. And certainly between systems, the data formats and structures can get confusing as well. So when we look at the Magic XPI integration platform, we have a number of options for Oracle eBusiness Suite integration using our Oracle Fusion Adapter, web services, methodologies, Java components, SQL integration, and so forth. A number of different methods that can be utilized, obviously XML and REST and so on. Now, when these approaches are taken, there's still a need for that data mapping, for the data disambiguation or data transformation, if you will. And so we know that there are systems that have full name as a field, and then you may need to process that full name in order to come up with first name and last name. There are other systems that store country code, area code, and local number as separate data, and that may need to be combined into one entry for phone in another system. And still another system, you may simply have an email address stored as a compound data structure versus those that break out into separate fields, the name, email address, and mail domain of a particular email address. And so all of these are just examples of the kind of data disambiguation that takes place at a simple level. Then there are also some very complex transaction-oriented data issues that need to be looked at when integrating e-commerce and the ERP system. So when we look at the demonstration, there are things that happen in a data map, for example, that allow us to see structural differences in the two databases and the tables of those databases, and make decisions about how we want to apply business functions without having to program that can allow us to just, perform business logic through a user interface that lies before us. So before I hand it over to Michael, I just want to suggest that for information on Magic Solutions, you contact us on the web at magicsoftware.com. You can give us a call at our California office at 949-250-1718. For another local office in another country, simply look up on the website. You'll see the other country phone numbers listed there. Or you can send us an email at info@magicsoftware.com, and we'll be happy to get back to you with information. We're really taking an approach here that allows you to use a visual drag, drop, and configure system, and so that's what we want to show you next. So Magic XPI integration platform as an example of Oracle e-Business Suite and Magento eCommerce integration. So with that, I'd like to share the this with Michael. So I'm going to make Michael the presenter, and you should have control at this point. Michael, thanks for joining us. Ah, I see your desktop. I don't hear you, but I see your desktop. Michael, are you there? Ah, now we can hear you. You were muted for a moment.
Thank you.
Now you can begin. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Glenn. Hi, everyone. So thank you for that introduction. And in this demonstration, I'm going to show how I take data from Magento, and I send it into my ERP and into my CRM. And we'll talk about some of the things that you raised, like easily mapping multiple sources to multiple destinations, and using a drag, drop, and configure environment to create our integration. So what I have here is our Magento site with some Tiffany jewelry in it. And I'm going to start by simply creating a cart, and I'm going to add some items to my cart. So I added an El Saparati mesh bracelet, and I'll also add Tiffany Jazz diamond.
So you're acting as a consumer at this point on the website, correct?
That's correct.
Great.
And I'm adding a Tiffany Enchant Link bracelet. So like Glenn said, I am the consumer now on the website, and soon once I complete my shopping cart, we'll see how the data that was submitted in Magento is being picked up in the background and moved to other systems. So I'm going to proceed to checkout still as the consumer, and I'll check out as a guest so we don't have to go through the whole registration. And I'll enter my first name and last name.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going to be putting this on your credit card and not mine, Michael. That looked like $26,000. That's a pretty big order there.
We didn't get to the credit part yet.
Uh-oh.
Michael Singer at Magic. And my address, Laguna Hills, and we're in California, and our zip code, US, and I'm going to ship to the same address. So now let's continue. Oh, I need to enter a phone number. Well, if you buy something for $26,000, you probably need to have a phone number in there. And I'm actually paying shipping for 26,000 bucks. That's nice. So let's use a credit card. The name of the credit card will be Glenn Johnson.
Good luck with that.
And, well, here's the fun part. We get to invent the credit card number. I think I clicked enough. Okay, let's see that it validates. Cool. And I can place my order for 26,020 bucks. So this was fun, and now let's see what's going on. So as the consumer, I finished my part here, and I created an order, and that order was sent. I don't care about this system anymore. I'm just waiting for my stuff to come in. Now I'm going to log in as the admin for this application. And
there you go.
Cool. I can go to a webinar. So I have here a list of orders, and my recent order that was created for Michael Singer. I see it here in my website, and I see that the status of that order is created in ERP. So let me click on this, and I see, of course, all the orders and everything that Magento gives me. And now I'm going to see what happened in the background. So in the background, I see that order 269 was created in SAP, which is my ERP, and I also see that it was created in my CRM. So in the background, without me having to do anything, this order was created on all the other systems that my company is using, so I can go in to one of them. Let's start with Salesforce, which is my CRM. And here I see the order that was created. I see the data that I entered. I see my email, my phone number, and so on. Of course, I'm going to see all the rest of the data in here. That was on one side. Now I also want to go into my ERP system, and I'm going to look for the last order that was entered. And here's my order that was entered: the Elsa Pelletti bracelet, the Tiffany Jazz Diamond, and the Tiffany Enchant bracelet. So without the end user having to do anything, the data gets dispersed to all the different systems within the company. It goes into my ERP. It goes into my CRM, and obviously it appears in my Magento website. So all my systems are in sync, and I have the same data appearing in all my systems. This was the demonstration, and now let's go into Magic and talk a few minutes about Magic. Glenn, was there anything you wanted to say?
No, I just was amazed at how seamless that all was. So that's the integration taking place. Now you're going to show us how you did that, how you behind the scenes what you had to do in order to make that integration happen.
That's correct.
Okay.
So the way I made everything happen was using our amazing Magic XPI integration platform, and this is the actual project that's running in the background, and that was doing the integration. So I'm going to start by just giving a few words about what Magic XPI is and how it works, and then we'll take a look at the different components that we've used. Magic XPI is an integration platform. It runs in the background as a process of the operating system. So if I go to my application, into my processes, I'm going to see Magic running as one of the processes of the operating system. If I want to monitor that, I can go and see in my monitor everything that's happening inside my project. This is the monitor that shows me all the steps. But let's start with the studio, and the studio is where I develop my flows, and this is where I spend most of my time. This is our Magic XPI Studio. It has three parts to it: the navigation, the components, and the flows. Each one of these flows has a trigger line, so I can take components and drag and drop them into my trigger line, or I can use them as part of my, for example, I want to trigger on Salesforce, that means when something changes in Salesforce, I want something to happen, I can drag it to the trigger line and configure it and set up the action that I want to happen. Another big example of a trigger could be a directory scanner. A directory scanner is a component that monitors folders. I can define what folder I'm looking at, and I can, for example, look at the local area network. I can say that I want to monitor my ctemp. I'm going to look for CSV files, and when the file comes in, I'm going to delete it. Once I hit OK, you'll see that the component appears on the top of the flow in the trigger line, and that means that whenever someone puts a file in that folder, the file is going to be loaded into the memory, deleted from the folder, and this flow that I have designed here is going to start happening step by step. Now, you can see that Magic XPI is a very visual tool, which means all the development is done by just dragging, dropping, and configuring components. I don't really have to code anything, and I can create very elaborate logic just by using these tools. For example, here I have an HTTP post action. Okay, so I double-click on the component to see what it does, and I see that it does a post to a specific address with a blob, which is basically a binary field that contains data. And based on different conditions, the logic is going to go either to the left or to the right. It's going to go to the left if the response had a fault, and it's going to return a fault. It's going to basically return the error message. And if it wasn't, it's going to go to the right. If I take a look at another flow, this flow is the flow that we saw that gets orders. Here I go through a flow, and let's take a look at another component, which at another type of component, for example, our Salesforce component. Most of our ERP systems we connect to, like Salesforce, JD Edwards, GBS, Magento, and so on, have components, and I developed by, like I said before, dragging and dropping components from the left into our flow. So, for example, if I want to use Salesforce, I just drag it, drop it, and start configuring it. I select what object I want to use, for example, account or any one of the objects that I have. The component is completely dynamic, which means every time I click and select, I click and open the list, it's going to go to the system it's connecting to, in our case Salesforce, and bring in all the objects it finds, which means that if you have the custom objects that you've created in Salesforce or SAP or EBS or JD Edwards or any other system, you'll be able to see them in the list. You'll be able to select the operation you want to do, like a query, create, update, insert, delete, and so on. And once you select the action you want to do, you're going to be moved to a mapper where you basically see all the fields that are exposed by this object and are able to simply drag, drop, and map fields. Let's take a look at the configured mapper, the mapper that we actually used here to create customers, to create a customer that was created in Magento on the Salesforce side. So if I go to configuration and hit OK and I open the mapper, I'm going to see the result that came back from the website as my source, and I'm going to see accounts as my destination, and I'm going to see the mapping that happened between the two systems. Okay, I simply take fields from the left and connect them to fields on the right. Now, some interesting things you can see here is I have the ability to map multiple fields into one, multiple sources into one destination. I have the ability to manipulate data on the fly. If you see the small FXs, that means that I'm manipulating data on the fly. And this is the closest you'll ever get to actually coding, which again, it's not really coding, it's selecting components, it's selecting functions that allow you to manipulate strings from a list. And here I'm basically taking two fields and merging them into one. And of course, if you have any questions about any one of the functions that you're seeing in front of you and don't know how it works, you can always click F1 and get some answers. So this is what the mapping component looks like. And we have multiple types of mappers to multiple different systems. We have just simple mappers that will just take multiple sources and map them into multiple destinations. Or we have mapping components that go to different systems and show sources like XMLs and go into systems like Salesforce, SAP, JD Edwards, EBS, Notes, and many, many others. If we talk about logic that I can add to a flow, you can see that I can create branches. I can create go-tos, which means doing something like this. Okay, and I have, once someone completed this component, it's going to go to this component and things like that, allowing me to create very elaborate logic within my flows without having to code and do difficult things, but simply by dragging and dropping and configuring components. So this was a look at our studio, and there's a lot more here to talk about, but we have a limited amount of time. Just to touch upon a few other things, defining sources, resources, and services is done in one central place and eventually creates an XML file that allows me to change settings externally without having to go directly into the systems. I defined, for example, my different resources. Like in this project, I was connecting to Salesforce and SAP, so I defined the different usernames and passwords. And I can do that in one place for the whole project, or I can do it per component, which will obviously take some more time, but will allow me to use security on the different systems. I can create error flows, of course, which will catch any type of error and react to that. I can map data, and I can manipulate data in mappers, which creates kind of like the joke that Glenn was showing, creates both systems speaking the same language. I have a debugger, of course, so I can step in and step out. Many other capabilities. I even have the capability to document my flow, document my whole project within my tool. So I don't have to use an external tool like Visio or anything like that. I have a Visio that's internal to Magic, and I can simply drag and drop, and I have all these icons here that I can use and configure. This doesn't really do anything. It's just used for documentation, but it's a nice way to have the documentation of your project together with the code. Once I'm done developing, and if you have any questions about how to code within Magic or any questions about anything I'm saying, you're always invited to put them into your message box and go to webinar UI, and we'll answer them at the end of the session. Once I'm done developing within my studio, I save everything to an XML, and I have the Magic XPI server, which is something you don't see, but that's our main component. It runs in the background 24/7 and does your integration. And the project, once it's done, I'm going to create an executable file and deploy it to my server. To monitor what's going on in the server, I have the Magic Monitor, which basically shows me step by step everything that's going on within my server, every step I went through, every message I went through. For example, I was running here for orders, so I can actually see the orders that I have created within the previous session. And if you see this small attachment, I can double click on it and open the actual attachment that was sent. This attachment was sent to to my ERP, and here I can see the different items that I purchased, the total, and then the separate lines with the different items that I have purchased. And this is how this data was created in my ERP system. So as the admin of the system, and that's the role I'm showing now, as the admin of the integration, I can use the Magic Monitor to be able to see every step that happened within the project. This was done for the order, this was done for each item. I can send messages from my project into the monitor with attachments and files. So if I have any errors, I'll of course be able to see them here. I can do elaborate searches. I can define filters for my monitor like this. I can change the colors of specific message types. Anything I need for me to be able to monitor this very carefully and understand exactly what's going on. Like I said, I can also open every message that was created and was sent to XML files and see the contents of those messages and the data that they contained. So this is the Magic XPI Monitor. This is the Magic XPI Studio. And we saw the integration in the beginning. Glenn, I think we can go to questions now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael, and thanks, everyone. Just go ahead and enter your questions into the chat box or into the questions box, and we'll definitely have plenty of time to get to a few of those questions here. One that came in, Michael, do you also have Fusion CRM integration capabilities?
The answer is yes, we can connect to Fusion CRM. We actually are working on a component for that system. Currently, we can connect for the standard methods such as web services or data. We can simply go to the database, or we can use the web service API. But we're also working on components for that specific system.
Okay. It says, I saw a Lotus Notes adapter, but can I actually work with the databases on the Domino server too?
That's actually a great question, because I have a good answer to it. We have more. We have more than one Notes component. We have a NotesDB component, and we have a, trying to find it, Lotus component. And a Lotus Domino component. So working with Notes, we have the capability to work with the Domino server, which means working with emails and addresses and meetings. We also have the capability to connect to NotesDB and work directly with the Notes database files. We've done multiple projects where we were integrating data from Notes databases into other systems. And we can definitely work with Notes databases, Notes applications, and Lotus server, Lotus Notes server as an email server. Send emails, create emails, and things like that. I hope this answered the question.
I think so. Can you integrate payment processing directly to EBS? So like a credit card payment processing site, I guess that would be.
Yes. We can. On integrating into EBS, we would work, I mean, there's a few ways we can work with EBS. We can work for web services. We can work for the database. We can work for Oracle, other Oracle products. It depends what payment processing you're using. So
it almost sounds like rather than working at the transaction level, they want to work on at the cash level. Just bulk fund transfers from the payment processor. I don't know. But maybe
so the answer is yes.
Transaction level. I don't know. But
right. And I mean, we can integrate it any level of EBS. It really, this is a question that's more depending on the requirements of the project. I mean, yes, we can do it. The only question is how. There's many ways, so I don't know which one to pick. Like I said, it really depends on the specific requirements for that project.
Okay. Another one, which database does Magic use for the metadata?
The Magic metadata is being loaded, so there's different types of metadata. Okay, there's metadata that I use inside my project, and inside the project I can define an ODS, an operational data store, and a UDS,
User-defined storage.
User-defined, exactly, thank you. User-defined data store. And I can define different data items that I would work with. Now, there's also the metadata that Magic uses, like everything you see in the monitor, which is the data that's used to monitor what the Magic application is doing. That is held in a database, and it doesn't really matter which. When we install Magic, we require some sort of database to be installed. And that database can be MS SQL, Oracle, MySQL, anything, SQLite, anything you choose. The main idea is we don't save our logging activity in log files like other systems, and that's because we want to be able to manipulate the data, we want to be able to query it, and we want to be able to save it, back it up, and so on. So we can use basically any type of database. We can use the actual data like this. For example, if you work with Oracle, if you work with JD or EBS, you would probably run either an Oracle database or an MS SQL database. So we can add another database onto the main company's database. Usually customers don't like that. They want to have a separate database for the Magic metadata. And in those cases, we can use something simple, even a SQL Serverlite or Express would MS SQL Express. These are free versions would work, and we can manage our metadata in those databases.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Michael. I don't see any other questions coming at this point. So I want to thank you very much for your demonstration today, and thank our attendees for joining us. If you have any follow-up questions, please email us at info@magicsoftware.com or give us a call here in California at 949-250-1718. We'll be looking forward to talking to you. Thanks. Have a great day.